Hi, today I want to show you how you can build sortable lists using drag and drop inside of Nordcraft and Sortable.js. It's super simple to do. You don't need to know much code how to set it up. I'm going to walk you step by step through the whole process. It's super simple, easy peasy. Let's get right started with that. So Sortable.js is a very cool JavaScript library allowing you to, kind of like drag and drop lists, and it's pretty cool, and resort them and restructure data. Now, let's get right started with that because it is pretty cool. So, first of all, we want to take a look at their GitHub, and we want to take a look at their GitHub for JavaScript. That's just the one called Sortable.js. Sortable, it's a public repository. We don't want to take the one with the jQuery plugin because that's just another dependency that we don't technically need. So let's take a look at how we install this. We can install it from their ES6 module, or we can do it with the CDN. This is really up to us, but we can just get that data from JS Deliver. So we got the complete Sortable.js with all plugins. Let's just look for that URL, and we will probably find that on JS Deliver, which is one of the methods how we can get access to those things. Or unpackage. Let's see. I'll find it on JS Deliver, so let's go with unpackage. Okay, so we got the complete ES6 module, right? And we do have that package inside of here. That's the code. That is what it will run. And we should be able to access that. Let's take a look. We should be able to get this JavaScript file through JS Deliver. Let's do view raw. And there you go. Now I got my module here. This is the JavaScript file that we want to load. Now, it does support import statements, so we can just import sortable. Let's go to Nordcraft and let's create an action for that. The action will be sortable.js. Okay, let's start importing that package. We're going to have the import statement here. Use import statement outside a module. So we will need to run the import statement outside of our function. Or no, that is not what we need to do. Okay, so let's just put this in here, and I'm going to copy that code, and I'm going to trust Claude to tell me what to do here. And then I'm going to go to Nordcraft, and it will tell me how to structure the code, because we do have to follow some guidelines when it comes to that. So let's take a look. Sortable.js, new Sortable.js, using dynamic import. Yeah, I think, okay, we should probably use the dynamic import functionality with ES6 modules. So let's just, it still doesn't let us do that. Await is only available in async. Okay, that seems to work. Let's see. Let's go back to Claude. Will this work on the front end? Normally I like using the script tag. No, it won't work. Okay, you just tell me what will work. Okay, it needs to be async function, use then import. Okay, that makes sense. Do the import one. Yeah, and handle the promise. However, the best approach for front end is usually to put the import at the top level. Let's see, I don't think Nordcraft does allow us to do that. No, it doesn't. So what we're going to do is we're going to take this approach, which will work. Yeah, there you go. So we got that import statement here. So let's just go back. I want the comments to be still there. So let's put this in here. So the way we're going to import this is by doing import. We're going to load the package, and then we can use the sortable here. So we just, define the sortable. We can use it. Let's add a console log. Load it. Okay, so let's see. This is the first step. Let's see if we actually are loading and importing the package. So for that, we take a look at the console. Failed response. Okay, let's try reloading that. Okay, I'm not getting a console log. Oh, because we're not running that, obviously. Let's go on the page here where I want to have my Sortable.js on. And let's load Sortable.js actually on the page. So let's reload that here. Okay, and now we're getting that kind of error, unable to resolve module. Okay, there you go. Now we're just going to import it using a script tag, but there you go. It's a common issue when trying to import an npm package, loaded via script tag, script import. Yeah, let's see. We will probably need to turn this into an asynchronous function. Let's see if that helps. And if it will still work. Let's see. Let's adjust that code. And let's put that inside of here. Let's try reloading this. Let's reload. Okay. EL must be an element, object not defined. Let's just get rid of this part. I'm just curious if we're actually loading it. So let's take a look. Okay, that doesn't seem like we're having an error. Okay, let's take a look at the network tab. That will be the important thing. Yeah, and we're actually loading Sortable.js and all their dependencies. So we're actually loading it. So we got that to work now. That's great. So we needed to turn this into an async function so we can probably properly load the package. So we got the Sortable defined here. So let's close ChatGPT, Claude. We don't need it anymore. And now that we have it, we can just, we need to define it. So we got Sortable, and this is exactly what we're doing here. Variable Sortable, new Sortable with the element and the Sortable, create, and all that. So first of all, let's define the Sortable element. So we're going right inside of here. And that will be the list that will have our elements in it. Then Sortable create EL. We already, yeah, we can do this already because it defines the top level Sortable that we're importing here. Okay. And then we're defining Sortable. So we're defining the element here with the list. This will be the drag and droppable list. Then we're taking the list here, which we defined, and we're creating a new Sortable, and that will be called Sortable. That will be a constant or a variable. And then we will take this variable here and we will create a new Sortable, which I think we have some double stuff in here, but that's good. Let's just copy this part of the code, which will be an initialization. I think we're doing things double here. Yeah, we are doing them double. Let's remove that. Let's see. Sortable, new Sortable, create element. We have the group name or false array. Do we have an ID here? Data ID HTML attribute that is used to array method. I think we have a double. Let's go to Claude actually and let's ask it. Am I doing the initialization double? Let's take a look. Let's have a clean up the code. Yes, you're doing a double. Yeah, that was my assumption. All your options. So it will be group, name, Sortable. So we just need to do new Sortable element, which we're already doing here, new Sortable element. So we can kill this one. Okay. Okay, let's say, will this work? Let's put this code in here. Let's double check with our friend AI. Will this work? The code looks correct now. Existing, make sure the element with the ID, items, my handle. Perfect. Simplified version for testing. We're fine. We just need the on end. So we will have to you know, cut some things out. I like the animation, the handle. For that we can just do a query selector. So the handle, you know, we will allow that. Ignored items, we got that available to us. Draggable, that will be the specify which items inside the element should be draggable. That's great. Class name for the drop placeholder. That's great, so we can work with classes and all that kind of stuff. Very extensive. The element that is chosen, so we will have the ability to console log the chosen element. Element is chosen, unchose, and there you go. And we just need to add the proper events for that. Now, right now, the main thing that we want probably is on move. On move will give us lots of information. And we probably want to start by just keeping the code like this. And yeah, that should be it. Let's just go and say, where can I define the list ID? Where can I, who needs grammar if we got AI? The list ID, that will be, oh, that will be the element, right? We're already defining that up here. Okay, that makes sense. Okay, yeah, okay. So we call this items, and then we have names in the group. So let's see if that works. Let's do a list. And let's give it some padding. 1 rem by 1 rem. And we have the list, and the list will need to have an ID. Of items. Let's see. I don't see any drag and drop happening yet, but we'll probably see all the errors in the console. So let's duplicate this, and let's duplicate this, and let's go on Nordcraft, and let's also center this so it works. Oh, let's do this here. Let's go with the list. Let's remove the width. Okay, I can live with that. Let's see. Yeah, we can't drag and drop yet, so let's do inspect elements. We probably want a simpler initialization. I don't see any errors, but I also don't see any successes. So we don't need the whole initialization. Group name, we don't need that. Sorting inside list, yeah, that's the whole idea. We don't need that. Touch threshold, we don't need that. Disables the sortable list, we don't need that. Store, probably. Animation, that's good. Handle, then that is good. Let's just comment it out for now. Filter, selectors that do not lead to dragging, string or function. Ignore items, that makes sense. We can conditionally add that class. Prevent on filter, call ePrevent filter when triggered filter, yeah. Draggable, specifies which items inside the element should be draggable. Okay, so I probably need to give it an item class. If I were to disable this, more than likely it will start dragging and dropping. Yeah, you see? Now it drags and drops. You see how I'm dragging and dropping, because we have this, we don't have a draggable class defined. Now, if it would be like this, I can drag and drop because the item needs to first have the class. So if you take a look here, and I have a class, I would need to add the item class to this element, and only then this specific element with the class can be dragged and dropped, but the other ones can't. So that is something that does make sense. So that's it. I like to keep that. That makes sense. So we can define that. We can also keep the handle. It's going to improve it. And it will still work even if we have the handle, right? No, it will not. It will then only work on the handle. Okay, gotcha. Let's comment it out for now. HTML attribute that is used by the toArray method. We can add a data ID to it. We don't necessarily need that. Ghost classes, that makes sense. Chosen class, drag class, that makes sense. Threshold, that is okay. Invert swap will automatically use invert swap if set to true. Force fallback, yeah. Drag over bubble, okay, that should be it. So set data, data transfer, HTML element, data transfer, set text. Okay, we want to keep that. That will actually update the list on an HTML level, but we need to also update the underlying data. So if the element is chosen, we do have events for that. I don't think we necessarily need them, but we can keep it, right? We just don't need to do a event. But what I do want is on end. This is probably what we really want. And we have this, are we defining, no, we're not defining everything in here. Function, event, on end, function. Let's see. We're having this event function which will make callable, but we want to console log the data. So let's do a console dot log. And now we can add, we can start building the object. Okay, so we have this 2 here. For that, this will be event 2. This will be the target list. And we will go with the next one. The next one will be from. So we'll add from. And we will take event from. We'll put that inside of here. Okay, now we will take old index. This will be important when we do the splice method. And we're going to take old index. And we're going to put this right inside of here. And then we're going to take new index. And we're going to put this right inside of here. There you go. And then we'll do new index. Boom. Okay, then we do old draggable index, in case we want that. Or just put everything in here. Old draggable index. Okay, there you go. And then we're going to take event. It doesn't let me get the whole thing. Event.old draggable index, and then we do new draggable index. I'll put that in here. EVT dot, and then we'll put that in here. Okay, then we take clone, the cloned element, so we get the HTML in case we ever want that. EVT.clone. Poll mode, in case we want that. We got the poll mode inside of here. And we can just do EVT.poll mode. So now we're actually console logging that data. So let's try drag in and drop in. And let's just delete those items here. So we do duplicate, duplicate. So we can adjust them, and let's make sure the pull thing is off. Yeah, the pull thing is off. Great. Okay, let's reload this and let's take a look at the console here in our application. You see? We're getting all the data, and we're getting the new index and the old index, which is very important, the old index, because that shows us how we need to splice and how we need to remove some of those items under the underlying data structure. There you go. Now, we will need some Claude to actually make that splice data structure work, but this is already enough to start making this list dynamic for me. So let's go to the home page and let's create a variable here with an initial value, and I will then also show you how you can get this with dynamic data. But let's call this list. We'll go with fx. And we're going to make a complex data structure. Let's go with an object. ID. A. Name. Despia. URL. https://despia.com. We'll add a new one. ID. B. NoCode Pro Code. HTTPS nocodeprocode.com. We'll add another one. ID C. Nordcraft. Okay, we'll add another one. ABC D. Name. Xano. URL. https://xano.com. There you go. So now we got the list. Now we want to make the list dynamic. So we'll add a repeat, and I'll repeat the list. Okay, now we can go in the text here, and we can set the text dynamically from item name. Okay, now I'm going to style it, so it's going to look very nice. So we're going to do 1 rem and 0.5 rem. And then I'm going to add a background here, which it will be a light gray. And we'll do a 0.5 rem. And then we're going to add a border to this. And we're going to add gray 200. There you go. So now if I open this, I got my list, and then we will be able to adjust the structure based on the variable. So if I drag and drop those things here, you see how I'm adjusting the list, but the underlying structure in the variable is not changing yet. Let me show you. Let's add a text area, which is my favorite way to debug JSON inputs. We're going to go to the value. The value will come from the list, and I'm going to add a JSON encode filter so I can see the structure. Let's give it some nice height, like 25 rem. Okay, and now we can test this. That's not 25 rem. Let's try that again. Now that's 25 rem. There you go. Okay, so now when I move Xano all the way on top, you see how Xano's on top here, but Xano's not on top on the data. That is very important because you actually want the underlying data that's rendering the list to change, where Sortable.js is just doing DOM manipulations, making it look like it changed, but the data doesn't change. For that, we do have the events, which are very important. So you see, I'm getting this object here with the index. And as you can see, I have Nordcraft, which has 1, 2, 3, 4, an index of 3 right now. And it would go to 0, because array start at 0. We would now see I have 3 to 0. Now this will allow us to resort the array item. Now for that, because I can't write that JavaScript off the top of my head, because AI has made programmers and developers in general pretty stupid, so I'm going to use Claude to write that code for me. Let's see. I have an array, and I need a simple JS snippet, linear, no functions, to reorder the list. So I will have an old item index and a new item index, and it would need to move the appropriate item. Background, I will use this as part of my Sortable.js setup. Send a smiley so when they take over the world, they'll love you. Beautiful. Let's wait till the AI responds to us. Oh, beautiful. We have the array. We're shuffling that. We're using splice, new index, and then we're logging the new items. Perfect. That is enough for me to turn this into something usable. So let's create a formula, actually, and let's call this move. We'll convert this to custom code. And then we're going to put this inside of here. So we have your array. So our first item will be the array, which is a list of items. And I can actually minify this a lot. So when I have the items is here. I mean, we can just make, for simplicity purposes, let's just do args.array. This will give us the array. Now the index, the old index For that, let me create this old index, which will be a number, and then this will be args.oldIndex. Let's remove the comments so they don't know that we're using AI. And then we're going to add the new index, which will be a number. Okay. Now we will just add this to be args.newIndex. There you go. And now instead of console logging the items in Nordcraft, we need to do a return statement to get the data back into their system. Beautiful. There you go. Let's go back to home. And now we got that here. Now we got the formula, so we can use this now on the event of the list to reorder that. And for that, we actually need to emit the appropriate event. And for that, we need to set it up. So now we gotta take a look at this first. Let's go to the console and let's drag this up. And now we get the sample data. I want to copy this object so we can go to our Sortable.js function and we can create an event. What is it called? onEnd, right? onEnd. Or did we do it? Yeah, onEnd. onEnd, and I will put the sample output here, which right now is object. So let's go to JSON formatter. Okay, it still is object. Okay. Let's copy this. Okay, still object. We got our ways to do those things. So here's what we're going to do. We are going to turn this console log into the context event. So we're going to go here and we'll do this ctx.triggerActionEvent. And then in here, we're going to put the event in here on end. And then we have the data. So now this event works. Where we don't have any sample data, so it makes it pretty hard for us to use in the editor, but that's the plan. Let's go on load. We have this onEnd event, which is pretty much the only one we really need unless you do want to do some custom stuff. And now I'm creating a variable called demo, which will be empty or null or whatever. And then on end, I'm going to set the demo variable with the event data. So now let's take Despia down. Okay. Now we go to demo, and I did not set it at all. Okay. Because I think we need to reload the page, because the event handler needs to be registered, because it is on page load. So let's move Despia down. Okay, let's take a look at the variable. And it does not work. Setting demo. I'm curious. Let's do console log on this, if I even completely set this up the right way. Let's go back here. Let's reload and let's see what we're doing. Yeah, I'm getting that data. So why isn't that going to the variable? We got the demo variable. It may not work in. Let's go to the text area here and map that with the demo variable. And let's go on load here, and we have the onEnd event. It's logging it correctly. Let's just try adding a JSON encode to this. And let's see. No, you see how we're getting null, even though we're getting the data correctly from the console? Very interesting. So it doesn't completely work when we set it like this, which is very interesting. This one works. We're getting it locked. Let's add a label to it, so to double check if this is actually working. Let's clear the whole thing. Hey, you see we're getting the lock and we are getting this data. Now I do have an assumption that not everything is JSON. And that may be the problem. But either way, it should. Let's try this. Let's do JSON encode. And let's see if that causes an error when we're logging something. Let's go down. Yeah, you see how it turns it into a null because it is not JSON. And that is probably because we're sending many elements that are not necessarily JSON. So let's go to the Sortable.js, because we don't need all the events. We can remove the to, because this will give us an element object. Let's comment that out. We can remove the from. We only really care about, we don't even need the clone. And we don't need the pull mode. I mean, it's optional, but let's try that. This should give us sufficient JSON. Yeah, you see how we're getting that? Okay, so let's drag Despia down. And now this will give us this example object here, which is okay. We can delete the other ones. We don't necessarily need it. But let's format this to be valid JSON. Let's copy that. And then let's put this as a sample output here. There you go. And I'm just going to keep them commented out. So, if you clone this, you can, adjust this to your liking, stringify the elements, and, work with the code. But now inside of here, I should be able to work with that. So now let's make this work again with our list. Okay, and let's go on the unload here on our sortable JS, kill the console, because now we have the element data. And now remember our move function. I'm going to put the array of our current list inside of here. The old index will come from the event, old index. The new index will come from the event, new index. And now it should rearrange the structure, which is like the whole purpose of drag and drop. So when I move Despia down, as you can see, Despia is all the way down. Xano, which is on the second last position, if I move it up, it should be on first position. It's not on first position. Okay, so there are some flaws with this. Let's try moving Xano up. Xano is up. Let's try moving Xano down. Now it does not work. The question is the event correct? Or is the splice not working? Or is it something in the middle? We'll see. For that, we probably want to bring our console log in here again. And let's remove the demo variable. Also, what is wrong with the event? Oh, we're setting the demo variable. That would be it. We need to set the list. Okay, let's go to the list. Let's go to list. And let's take our move. And we take old index. And we'll take new index. Let's hope that that was it. Let's try moving Xano up. No, but it could also be that we're rendering the wrong one. No, we got list, okay. We got the move event, old index, new index, which should rearrange the list. Let's hope that works. I would almost create this variable again because Nordcraft sometimes has the issue where if you have an old variable, it just doesn't get it completely. So let's just for the sake of demoing, let's just unlink the variable and let's create a new one. Let's do one list items with a new name. Let's repeat this based on list items. Text area will come from list items with a JSON encode. And then in here, we're going to go to the onload. We're going to initialize the sortable JS, and we are going to take list items. We're going to go with our move formula, and we're going to have the list items here, and we're going to take, let's see, we got on first is Despia, on last is Xano, and then we got Nordcraft. So Despia, NoCode, ProCode, Nordcraft, Xano. Let's see how this changes when I add old index and when I add new index. It still has the same, right? Last one was Xano. No, actually, does it do something? I don't remember. Let's see. We got NoCode, ProCode, Nordcraft, Xano, and now in here we have NoCode, ProCode, Nordcraft, Xano, Despia. And here we have NoCode, ProCode, Nordcraft, Xano, Despia. So it does not work. I have an assumption that the move formula is incorrect. But let's try. Let's try reloading the page. Because it did work at some extent. Let's try moving this on top. Okay, it doesn't set it, it doesn't work. The question is, does the event return the correct data? That would be the next investigation. So let's copy this. On end, let's do a console log. Let's call this on end. Let's go on FX, put this inside of here. Let's go back to Nordcraft, and let's try moving Despia all the way down. It will give us this. Despia is still in the middle. We can move Despia up. Despia is now up. So it's not that accurate at all. Okay, let's move Xano on the top. Now Xano is on second position. Okay. Very interesting. Let's move this all the way up. Nordcraft. Now Nordcraft is on. You know what my assumption is? That the DOM manipulations are not completely correct. Let's do an experiment. Let's go on Sortable.js. And in addition to the console log here, let's do another console log. Let's do index. And now I just want to log the event, if the event is correct. So we will see, is the event correct, or is the move function broken? Which specifically is broken right now? Let's move Xano up. Xano was the last, it will be the first. So right now it did not move it. But here's the thing. We're moving from old index 3, which is correct, to new index 0. So it does not work. Let's go to Claude. Let's say it does not work with arrays like this. The code actually works exactly the same with arrays and objects. Alt index, new index. It does not work. It moves it to the wrong space though. Let's go here to our formula. The formula is the one broken. We have the array, we have the list, we have the old index, we have the new index, we return the items. Let's say this one only works sometimes. Let's see what it says. You're right, the issue is when you're moving to a higher index, you need to adjust for the fact that moving the first element also went down by 1. Here's the correct implementation. Move the item, adjust new index if moving to higher position. Okay, so it only doesn't work if you move to a higher position. We'll trust that AI is correct about that. Let's try reloading this and let's see if this actually works. So let's move Xano all the way up. If I take a look at the console, this still does not work. So let's copy this JSON. Let's say I have this array. I move Xano to the top, and I still have, let's try it. Move Xano to the top. Okay, now we get the on end. But I get this event and process the move accordingly. Let's go here. Which goes from there to there, which is correct. I see the issue. Your function is working correctly. The problem is that you're showing me two different arrays. Starting array, what you should be working with. Result array, what you're showing the wrong result. But let's say, but this is the result of running your function. because we got the old index, new index, running it correctly, right? I got this on load. We're updating the list items. We do the move, old index, new index. I do have a working one in the community, but I do want to do that together with you here. Wait, that's working correctly. The function is working correctly. You're getting the result right. The issue might be that you are wrong. You're absolutely right. Let me test this more carefully with the exact scenario you described. Let's take a look. You're absolutely right. The JavaScript is correctly. Oh my god. Okay, so this will be fun. Let's just have ChatGPT make a new one. Okay, let's close that one here. And let's say I need a JS function to move an item by index to a new index position in an array, like do not hard code anything. Keep it flexible. Let's copy the prompt in case we lose it. And let's put this into O3. Let's send. And let's see. Okay, there's a bunch of weird stuff. Example, make it no functions linear basic JS. Let's see. I do like the reasoning models, they're pretty cool. Inputs, array, it does that. It looks good with the concatenation and all that. I do like the way this looks promising. So let's go to the move formula. And we have the array. So we'll take args.array. We'll take the from index, args.old index, to index, at args.new index, normalize and adjust. Let's remove the comments so they don't know that we're using AI, but this code looks already very much better. And then we're just going to return this. Okay. Let's try that one. Let's see if that works. Move Xano up. Oh my god. I mean, it technically does work, right? I moved Xano up and it, like, its D is up. It's just, it gets rid of the whole thing. It does work. I just want to keep the objects. Let's see. This works great. Just keep the objects the way they are. I mean, I can do that myself probably. Like, we move items, we insert, we do the splice. We don't need the map. We can just return copy, right? And then that should do the thing, doesn't it? Let's try that. Let's move Xano up. Yeah, Xano's up. Let's move Xano down. Xano's down. Let's move Xano to the second position. Xano is, oh, let's move Xano to the second position. Xano's on the second position. Let's move Xano to the second on top position. Let's move Despia down. Move Despia all the way down. Okay, it somewhat is working. Oh my god, this is fun. Let's give it some space here. Let's do 2 rem. And let's try that again. Okay, so I moved Xano up. Xano's up. I moved Despia down. Despia is on 2nd place. I moved Despia all the way down. Now if I go to on end, Despia is on 2nd place. But it went from 2 to 3, which is correct. It doesn't always work. Okay, so let's copy this. Let's say this works, but when I go from 2 to 3, it does not. I do have a working one in the community though, so I'm tempted to just use it, but I want to do it again. Let's see. Oh, we're now on the canvas. Let's see how it does. The issue now is the array shrinks by 1 after removal, but we need to handle the target index when removing an element. If the destination index is the last element to index, we should avoid decrementing the destination index. The algorithm currently does, which causes incorrect replacements. That we need to adjust the destination so it accounts for the new array length. Oh my god, it's running some calculations here. Okay, this looks like it works. Removing from index 0 and inserting back to the final position gives us the expected results. And I thought, oh my god, it's thinking more than me. Okay, it's analyzing more stuff. And now it fixes it. Okay. Let's copy this. Let's paste. Oh my god. Let's just boom. Let's try this. Let's move Despia down. Despia's down. Move Despia to the 3rd position. Despia's 3rd position. Move NoCode ProCode all the way down. NoCode ProCode is all the way down. Move it to the 2nd top position. Let's move Nordcraft all the way down. Move Nordcraft all the way up. It's all the way up. You see how it changes? Move it all the way down. All the way up. In the middle. 3rd. 4th. Despia down. Xano down. NoCode ProCode down. Nordcraft down. Xano down. Xano up. Nordcraft up. Despia up, NoCode ProCode up. Works! Amazing. So we got it working. We're restructuring the data. We got the formula working brilliantly. So there you have it. Let's just make it go to the side and center. So it's just like a nice way of looking at the structure. There you go. And now I can just go to my event here and get rid of all the console logs. We won't need them anymore. So now let's clean this up for production. We have a bunch of options here. I think they're pretty generic, but we want to make it a little bit dynamic so we can have multiple sortable lists and all that kind of stuff. So the draggable item, that probably does make sense. So let's first start by a list ID. Let's do a list ID. That will be the ID of the list. That will be a string. So it will be either args.listID or items. There you go. That will be the fallback. Sort, I mean, the whole idea is that this is sortable. So we'll keep some of those settings. Ignore items. I think we can just keep that hard-coded. We can just add those classes, right? The draggable item, I want to have a custom query selector. So item selector, and that will be a string. So that will be either args.item selector or the default will be item. Then we'll have those classes. We will keep them as is. Those are the defaults. And then we also have the fallback class and all that. So we're fine with that. Now, really the only event we need is on end. You can customize this code to work with the other events, but we don't really need that. Also, we don't use remove because we're just using a sortable list. So you can just keep it that way it is. That gives us a flexible way to set this up. So let's get this set up. There you go. So we can now go on this list here and we can go to items. Let's call this sortable JS, right? And let's adjust some of the parameters. Did I write that correct? Let's do sortable. Okay, we'll put that ID in here for sortable JS. The item selector will be drag item, and that will be an ID, so we'll make this with an hash because that's the valid query selector. And then I will go on the item, we will remove it as a class, and we will just do attributes ID, and I will just do drag item. Let's try that. And now, as you can see, I can move Despi all the way down and adjust the JSON structure. So what we have built is, we have built the foundation how every no-code tool works. This is how Xano works. This is how Zapier works. We have a web interface, and I can move, with my mouse freely drag and drop items to a new position, and it restructures a JSON payload. You can go very complex with nested structures, have lists inside of lists. You can componentize this however you want. You can allow user to build their own JSON structure to customize their dashboard view and all those kinds of things. Very cool what you can do with it. This is how you work with it. It's super simple once you get it. And if you need more help in kind of like figuring out some of those more complex SDKs, maybe you want to build something that's a little bit tough to do, take a look at nocodeproco.com. That is the place where you want to be if you're very serious about what you're building, you want to make progress faster than anybody else in the world, and you want to get access to daily office hours with me, where I will personally help you make progress faster, overcome any of your roadblocks, or make sure that you don't have any roadblocks at all. Thank you so much for watching. It was a pleasure doing this together with you, and see you tomorrow. Take care.